In a land where the sky shimmered like silver silk and rivers whispered ancient songs, there stood a kingdom called Ilarion. It was a place untouched by sorrow, where laughter bloomed like flowers in spring. But high above this peaceful land hung a moon unlike any other. Once every 100 years, the moon would turn crimson, not glowing, but bleeding, and with it came a prophecy. Long ago, a child was born under that crimson sky. Her name was Princess Ilawan. She had eyes like twilight, deep, mysterious, filled with questions. Though she was raised in golden halls and surrounded by love, there was always something different about her. Flowers bloomed where she walked, but sometimes they wilted just as quickly. Birds sang for her, but at night they fell silent. The people whispered softly, afraid to speak too loudly. She is the child of the bleeding moon. Ilawan grew up kind and endlessly curious. She loved wandering beyond the castle gardens, where wild magic lingered in the air. One evening, as the sky turned violet, she met a strange boy. He was barefoot, with silver hair that shimmered in the fading light. "My name is Seal," he said. "You don't belong in cages made of gold." Ilawan laughed softly. "And you don't belong in shadows." They met in secret, sharing stories and dreams beneath the stars. But Seal always disappeared before the moon rose, and Ilawan never asked why. Years passed. The day of the bleeding moon drew near. The kingdom began to tremble with fear. Ancient scrolls revealed a chilling truth. When the moon bleeds, so shall the heart of its chosen. Only sacrifice can restore the balance. The castle grew quiet, and Ilawan began to feel something strange. A slow ache, like something was breaking or awakening. On the night before the crimson moon, Ilawan ran into the forest. "I feel like I'm disappearing," she whispered. "Like I was never meant to stay." Seal looked at her. "You were never meant to stay in one place," he said softly. "You were meant to become something greater." "What does that mean?" she asked. But Seal only shook his head. "You'll understand when the moon rises." The next night, the sky turned dark, and slowly, the moon began to bleed. A deep glowing red poured across the heavens. The wind howled, the ground trembled, and Ilawan fell to her knees as a surge of magic coursed through her veins. Pain unlike anything she had ever known filled her heart. She cried out, and the entire kingdom heard her. As the palace guards rushed to her side, something incredible began to happen. From her chest, a soft crimson light emerged. Not blood, not fire, but something ancient, something alive. The truth of the prophecy revealed itself. Ilawan was not cursed. She was a vessel of balance. The bleeding moon was not a sign of destruction. It was a call for healing. The kingdom had thrived for centuries, but it had taken more than it gave. The forests had been cut. The rivers had been controlled. Magic itself had been bent to serve the crown. And now, the world demanded balance. Ilawan's heart was the price. As her strength faded, she saw Seal standing before her once more. But this time, he was different. His form shimmered like starlight, his eyes glowing with ancient wisdom. "Who are you?" she whispered. Seal knelt beside her. "I am the spirit of the forest," he said gently. "The voice of the world your kingdom forgot to hear." Tears filled Ilawan's eyes. "So, this was always my fate?" "No," Seal said softly. "This is your choice." Ilawan looked at her kingdom, her family, her people, her home. She thought of the laughter, the love, the beauty, and the harm they had unknowingly caused. She took a deep breath and smiled. "If my heart can heal what was broken, then let it." The crimson light burst from her chest, rising into the sky like 1,000 glowing petals. The bleeding moon shimmered and slowly began to change. The red faded, the darkness lifted, and the moon turned silver once more. Across the kingdom, miracles unfolded. The forests grew back. The rivers ran free. The air felt alive again. Balance had been restored. But Princess Ilawan was gone, or so they believed. Deep within the forest, where the oldest trees whispered secrets, a single flower bloomed, crimson and silver, and beside it stood a familiar figure. Ilawan opened her eyes. She was no longer just a princess. She was something more, a guardian, a spirit, a living bridge between humanity and magic. Seal smiled. "Welcome home," he said. From that day on, the kingdom of Ilarion changed. They learned to listen, to give back, to live in harmony with the world around them. And every 100 years, when the moon turned crimson once more, they did not fear it. They honored it, because they knew the bleeding moon was not a curse. It was a reminder that true strength is not in power, but in balance. Not in taking, but in giving. Sometimes what feels like a burden is actually a purpose waiting to be understood. True magic lies not in control, but in harmony, and the greatest sacrifices often create the most beautiful beginnings.